This is breaking news, a major security crisis that is unfolding in Pakistan. Now, the Baloch Liberation Army, that's the BLA, it has claimed responsibility for hijacking the Jaffar Express in Balochistan's Bolan district. The separatist group says its fighters blew up the railway track, forcing the train to stop, and have taken hundreds of passengers hostage, including security personnel. The BLA has warned that any rescue operation will lead to mass executions of the hostages inside the train, placing full responsibility on Pakistani authorities. Now, meanwhile, we're also picking up that Pakistani officials have not yet confirmed the hostage situation, but say the security forces have reached the site. Reports also indicate that militants fired on the train during this entire fiasco, injuring the driver as well, the loco pilot of the train. The Balochistan government has now declared an emergency, with all institutions mobilized to handle this developing and unfolding crisis. The BLA seizing the Jaffar Express in Bolan district of Balochistan. About 470 passengers is what we're picking up at this point in time. That number very well could change. Now, the BLA, the Balochistan Liberation Army, has been waging an insurgency for decades, demanding independence and control over Balochistan's rich natural resources, is what we're picking up, ladies and gentlemen. Big breaking developments as the Baloch rebel group, Baloch Liberation Army, BLA, seizes the Jaffar Express train in Pakistan's southwestern province of Balochistan in the Bolan district. My colleague Aditya Rajkol joins us live from the newsroom here. Aditya, a huge development that we're tracking from Balochistan. We're also picking up that this train was also carrying a lot of Pakistani military officials. That could be one of the reasons why the BLA targeted it. But let's not jump the gun here. What are you picking up from your sources? Help the viewers out.
Well, it's a big development coming that we are breaking first here in India on News0, that a massive operation is underway in Bolan of Balochistan. In fact, I have received multiple emails from the spokesperson of the Baloch Liberation Army, which is the BLA, a rebel group which is working for years together in Balochistan. What we have heard is that the Jaffar Express, one of the main trains connecting Balochistan with other provinces of Pakistan, has been hijacked. In fact, what I've been told is that in the Bolan area of Balochistan, at the Tunnel 8, this attack was conspired by the BLA fighters and rebels. We are being told that already the women, children and Baloch passengers have been let go, but more than 100 passengers have now been abducted. They are in the custody of the Baloch rebels, while the ground attack that was mounted by the Pakistani Frontier Corps and the security forces has been completely busted, and they have not been able to restore normalcy there. There is some air activity also. There are multiple emails that I've received. In fact, Kabir, if I can read from one of the emails that I have right now, which I received just 5 minutes ago. It says the Baloch Liberation Army has completely repelled the Pakistan military's ground assault following the seizure of the Jaffar Express. After intense clashes, Pakistani ground troops were forced to retreat, but airstrikes from helicopters and drones continue unabated. In fact, widespread reportage now also on the Pakistani media, Kabir, clearly indicating that there is a fluid situation now. Many passengers have been killed as well. The Baloch Liberation Army has claimed that 6 military persons have been killed so far. The driver of the Jaffar Express is also critically injured. That's what the Pakistan media is claiming. And if I can move further, the BLA in its latest statement says that the BLA issues a final warning. If the aerial bombardment is not halted immediately, all 100+ hostages will be executed within the next hour. The Majid Brigade, STOS and Fateh Squad, as well as the Zirab unit fighters, are actively engaged in the countermeasures, and any further military incursion will have catastrophic consequences. So I can explain to you, Kabir, that the Majid Brigade is the elite suicide squad that we all know as the Fedayeen squad of the Baloch Liberation Army. They have conducted a lot of Fedayeen operations in Karachi, in Balochistan, of course, against the Pakistani security forces. The fight of the BLA and the Baloch rebels is mainly against the Pakistani security forces, ISI, and the deep state. I can also tell you that multiple Baloch rebel groups, multiple Baloch organizations that are fighting for freedom from Pakistan have recently come together under one banner, and this has led to a newer momentum and power in the Baloch camp against the Pakistan army. So even as we report this and give you more updates, we can confirm that 100 plus Pakistani Punjabi passengers and many soldiers have been abducted by the BLA, and as of now intense clashes continue in the Bolan area of Balochistan.
All right, Sandeep Unithan, editor News 9 Plus, also joining us here on the broadcast. Before I come to you, Sandeep, Aditya, could you help us with, what is the number that one should look at? Somebody's saying 470, somebody's saying 500 odd passengers, many of them military personnel as well. Give us a breakup of what is the hostage statistic looking like right now?
You know, this train, Jaffar Express, was traveling from Quetta to Peshawar. Now, Quetta is in Balochistan and Peshawar is in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. These are neighboring provinces, and both these provinces have intense security problems. One, the Baloch rebels. Second, the TTP and other groups that are creating havoc in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa for the Pakistan army and the deep state. What we know so far is that more than 470 passengers were inside this train, but many women, children and Baloch passengers specifically have been let go. They have been freed. Only Pakistani Punjabi passengers and Pakistani Frontier Corps and Army soldiers have been abducted. More than 100 people have been abducted. We also know that the driver of the Jaffar Express is critically injured in Sibi Hospital, one of the key hospitals in the area. An emergency has been declared. There is a chaos completely right now as to how to dwell into a security operation so that these passengers could be saved or freed at this stage. But a major security challenge coming in for the Pakistan army and the ISI in Bolan in Balochistan right now, which is a very much a fluid situation right now.
All right. Sandeep, all the details that Aditya has shared with us right now, the train tracks being blown up, they're inside a tunnel at this point in time, the loco pilot has been injured, and given, BLA's own bid of insurgency, the number of hostages, the government in this catch-22 situation, because now the BLA has put out a statement saying we're going to carry out mass executions if any of these operations are launched. The past BLA attacks and what we're seeing today, how does this compare on the scale of past BLA attacks?
Kabir, the attack that you've just seen unfolding on that train is of a level that we have not seen in previous attacks by the BLA. The Majid Brigade, as Aditya was just saying, is the elite squad of the BLA. They are the special forces, if you can call them that, that conduct a lot of these hit-and-run attacks on Pakistani military establishments across Balochistan. They've run suicide bombing attacks in the last couple of years. But this attack is of a different scale and complexity, because to intercept a train, to stop a train, to capture passengers, it requires a large number of resources. It requires a lot of planning. It requires boots on the ground. And I think through this attack, the BLA have demonstrated exactly like what a couple of Pakistani parliamentarians were saying in parliament recently, in the Pakistani parliament, where they don't control vast swaths of Balochistan. And the fact that you have several dozen BLA fighters, the numbers could be upwards. One can only guess at this moment. The details are still coming in. It would require a very large number of BLA fighters to hold a train hostage with 400 plus passengers. Because if you have to hold a train which has multiple exits, entry points and all that, you would need to have a substantial force. And the fact that they have taken this train into a tunnel suggests that it is a hostage situation that could be emerging. They've planned this, they've wargamed this entire scenario. They want to bring the Pakistani forces to try and storm this train. There is going to be a trade-off. There will be this hostage situation. Lives will be lost, unfortunately, unless they can work something out peacefully, as in release hostages. But my estimate is that, Kabir, the Pakistani military will try to swing in as quickly as possible. The Pakistani SSG, they have the Special Services Group, which is a Special Forces unit that is trained exactly for these kind of situations. They would be moved in very quickly to kind of attempt to storm this train. These are our equivalent of our para-SF commandos, the SSG of the Pakistan Army. They would come into this situation and try and resolve this with the minimal loss of civilian life. But, Kabir, that said, this is a level, this is an operation that the BLA or any other terrorist group has not attempted in a very long time. One, cannot recall the last time that, an insurgent group held, a train hostage. The trains have been attacked, they've been derailed, they've been blown up. But to hold an entire passenger train, that suggests that the BLA is moving up, in the scale of insurgencies. They're moving from, hit and run attacks to stand and fight kind of attacks. And that is, that would be something that would give the Pakistani security establishment nightmares, Kabir.
Pakistani SSG that's going to quickly be mobilized in. That's what Sandeep's telling us. And also the elite Majid Brigade of the BLA. That seems to be like quite the face-off here. And Aditya, two main questions that now come to the fore is, of course, of any indication of there being BLA's demands that have now come out. Are there, political conditions that the BLA will put forth? And of course, do you think this entire fiasco that we're seeing unfold, this entire attempt by the BLA, could it blow up into a full military conflict and escalation?
Well, certainly there is an escalation that has already happened over the last 3 years. There are multiple attempts that have been made to target frontier corps camps in different parts of Balochistan by the BLA or other rebel groups. Many prominent, centers of the Pakistan Army or even infrastructure centers have been attacked. In fact, it's not restricted to the Pakistan Army or the ISI. Even the Chinese engineers have come under attack, be it in Karachi or in Balochistan. So it is certainly a political fight that the BLA has been fighting for freedom. One is the peaceful route that Maharang Baloch and several others have been, fighting against the Pakistan deep state, against the enforced disappearances that have happened over the last 2 decades, where thousands of Baloch men and women and activists have gone missing completely because they've been either abducted or killed by the Pakistan Army. On the other hand, we have seen BLA mounting pressure through these attacks completely, not taking support from any other, terrorist organizations. It's not an Islamist terror organization as such. It's a political movement by the BLA or other rebel groups that have been running in Balochistan for years and years together. We'll have to find out what the demands really would be. As of now, in the 2 emails that I've received from the BLA claiming responsibility for this hijacking and abduction, there are no demands that have been put, only a warning against the Pakistan Army and the security forces to stop the aerial firing that is happening in the area. If they do not stop the aerial firing, then certainly they're saying that there will be executions. As of now, the casualties have been put at around 6 Pakistani military soldiers who've been killed. But in all likelihood, because I've been in touch with some Pakistani media friends as well, who say that the casualties could increase, and these are very, very distressing reports. And that's why the Pakistan Army and of course the Pakistan government as well are completely silent and have not even officially claimed that such an attack is even underway right now.
Sandeep, the BLA demanding a separation. We're also picking up statements coming across from the BLA. They're saying if the aerial bombardment is not halted immediately, all 100+ hostages will be executed within the next hour. You've got the Majid Brigade, STOS, the Fatah Squad and Zirab unit fighters that are on the spot. This is also another statement that we picked up from the BLA. They're saying we are in a strong position, demanding pure separation from Pakistan.
Well, Kabir, that's not, a practical solution at the moment. But, they could possibly look at something like a cessation of the aerial attacks, because this is something that the BLA does not have an answer for. Because for several years now, the Pakistan military and specifically the Air Force have been using helicopter gunships and fighter aircraft even to attack BLA positions. And this is something that the BLA has no answer to. They have no anti-aircraft weapons of the calibers that would be required to take down these aircraft. Their bases are being stormed and strafed and rocketed in all of those regions. So that is something that is of a great concern to the BLA. So possibly they could work out a solution where they would be the Pakistan military stops these aerial bombardment, these use of helicopter gunships and aircraft against the BLA. That is an immediate thing. But of course, the long-term solution, which is what the BLA has been fighting for all these years, is the fact that they want a free Balochistan. They want to break Balochistan away from Pakistan. But it is a matter of, it is a critical mass of population that would be needed to achieve this objective, Kabir. The larger political goal of the BLA is for a separate, free and an independent Balochistan, but they don't seem to have the numbers to get that going. They have the motivated cadre to carry out these kind of daring attacks, like this attack on the train, for instance. That is an exceptionally elaborate and well-planned operation. This is something that takes a very high degree of skill to carry out. This is something which has not been done in a very long time, as I was saying. So the fact is that the BLA would look for some quick gains out of this. It's a hostage situation, and it's a very, very difficult situation for the Pakistani security forces as well, given the fact that there are so many civilians involved in that. They would like to get these civilians freed at minimal collateral. And the fact that Aditya was mentioning that there is a information blackout also suggests that the Pakistani state is working on some contingency plans to free them using offensive action, like special forces, commando units, like I was mentioning, the special services group who are trained for exactly this kind of situation. But the one thing that the Pakistan military cannot show, Kabir, is that they cannot show weakness, and that is the reason that negotiations would be a very big problem for the Pakistan military. It would cause severe loss of pace if they are seen negotiating with the BLA. Because once they start negotiating, then all of Balochistan is open for negotiation. You would have many more such attacks. You would have many more such hostage situations, making demands on the Pakistan military, which is largely seen as an occupying force there in Balochistan, Kabir.
Right. Francesca Marino is also joining us on the broadcast, journalist and author. Balochistan, bruised, battered and bloodied. They're also with us on the broadcast. A very warm welcome to you. Francesca, very quickly, if we're looking at this entire operation unfold, given your extensive research on Balochistan, what do you think is the primary objective behind the BLA this time around? We're learning about the Fatah, operators. We're learning about the Majid Brigade. They're all part of this entire operation. Francesca, can you hear us? Well, it seems like we're going to quickly patch that line back up. Some of those visuals that we're now picking up that's the train, the Jaffar Express, that you can see on your screens, currently seized and hijacked by the Balochistan Liberation Army. With me, Sandeep and Aditya continue to be with us. Aditya, we're now picking up of air and ground operations that have in fact launched. You remember the statement they said, if any operation is launched, mass executions are going to be carried out. Reports of drones hovering in the area as well. What does this mean for the potential risk of the hostages? And of course, we can later talk about international fallout and potential implications on the global stage, given China's interest in Balochistan. But drones hovering in the area, ground and air operations that have begun as well. What does that mean for the statement? They said mass executions if any operation is launched.
Well, it's a very catch-22 situation for the Pakistan Army and the security forces on how to ensure that an attack is mounted in the area against the BLA and ensuring the security of the passengers in this particular train, because they're not aware how many of the BLA fighters would be there, because as my colleague Sandeep also pointed out, it needs a heavy contingent of the BLA that would have hijacked an entire train, allowed the women, children and the Baloch passengers to leave, and then abducted 100 plus of these passengers who are mostly Pakistani army soldiers or Punjabi workers who were traveling in this train from Quetta to Peshawar in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So as of now, it's a stalemate. It's a catch-22 situation, a very fluid situation where the Pakistan Army is trying to build a security operation against the Baloch Liberation Army, but a final strong warning has gone out from the BLA to the Pakistani security forces to not mount any kind of an aerial bombardment. Otherwise, there will be serious consequences and executions will take place. And I can certainly vouch for that, because in the past 3 years, you could see multiple such attacks against the Pakistani Army, the ISI, and of course the Chinese engineers as well, in which there have been heavy casualties. In fact, not just men, but many women suicide bombers have come forward as well from the BLA and taken the plunge particularly against the Chinese engineers in Karachi. So this is a new kind of a trend that we are witnessing. Just a few days ago, all the Baloch rebel groups, be it those who have chosen the path of peace or those who have picked the arms, have come together. This is perhaps the first time in last couple of decades that all Baloch groups have come together under one umbrella, strengthening them, making them more powerful and strategic in their outburst against the Pakistani military and the deep state. So long term, one could say that this is not a good news for the Pakistani government and the deep state, because these attacks would happen perhaps every alternate day, alternate week. But this is a fluid situation right now. It's an unprecedented hijacking of a very popular Jaffar Express train in Pakistan, in which close to 500 passengers were traveling, and now 100 plus have been abducted. There are no latest developments that have come in, no pictures or videos yet, but we are being told that intense clashes are underway between the Pakistani security forces and the Baloch rebels. There could be possibly more casualties as well, as we know as of now. But I'm trying to pick more details to fill in the viewers.
No, absolutely. Many thanks, Aditya. Do stay on with us. We're going to keep coming back to you. Before I go back to Sandeep, who's also with us on the broadcast, take a look at this new map image that we have for our viewers. This is the Dadar area, like you can see, in, of course, Bolan district of Balochistan. And in this area, this is the Mashkaf area, where you see the train right towards the northeast of the Dadar area. This is the latest image and map that we're tracking for all our viewers. 6 casualties. The loco pilot, he's been injured in a critical situation at this point in time as the BLA hijacks this very popular, like Aditya was telling us, Jaffar Express with 100 plus hostages, and of course a fluid situation that is prevailing and transpiring around this tunnel, where apparently this train is currently seized and hijacked and blocked. The railway tracks have been blown apart by the BLA operatives. You've got the Majid Brigade, the Fatah, all those important units coming under that umbrella. And you know, Sandeep, even as Aditya was telling us about this new unity that all these operatives are now sort of feeling, it takes me quickly back to what happened in Syria also with the fall of Bashar al-Assad, with the rebel forces really coming back together, and how this could really become a problem for Pakistan, just like it did for the 5-decade rule of the Assads.
Absolutely, Kabir. And that's a very important point that Aditya made, the fact that the various Baloch groups are coming together. And if they're coming together, they're pooling tactics, they're pooling personnel and equipment. Because an attack of this kind, Kabir, cannot be mounted without literally hundreds of people being involved. Because trains are large objects. They're not like small. They're much bigger than aircraft. And they're extremely difficult to control. They're extremely difficult to police, monitor. There are multiple entries and exits. All of that requires manpower to control. You need people to man all the exits. All of this calls for a large number of manpower. And that is clearly one possibility, is that they have got this from across other groups as well to carry out this attack. It is a complex operation. A train inside a tunnel, the nightmare scenario for any counter-terrorist organization. And in fact, the drones that we were picking up, that you mentioned, that were flying over the area, that is possibly the Pakistan military trying to ascertain what the situation on the ground is. And if they are going to look at a situation like this, the ideal time for them to strike would be nightfall, Kabir. If they were to move in, it would be at night, because that is an advantage that the government security forces have, which is with their night vision devices and all that. They have the capability, they have the ability to fight through night. And they would not like this situation to develop several hours, because what happens is that once the militants get into a comfortable position, they are well entrenched, they are able to build up their defenses and mount a more effective response. So before that develops, the Special Services Group would try to move in, use the intelligence that they've gathered through the drones, and then strike at nightfall when they have the advantage of the equipment, the special night vision devices and all of that, which will allow them to break into this kind of siege and rescue the hostages. But it's going to be incredibly messy, Kabir. If they are going to try out, a special intervention to rescue the hostages, with so many of them in a confined space, it's a metal tube. A train is a metal tube parked inside a mountain, a tunnel. it is the nightmare situation that no special unit would ever want to get into. So there would be a catch-22 situation that the special forces are faced with, and this is something that they would be really, wargaming and looking at options and counter options, what to do in a
Absolutely right.
situation like this. Because
It
this
is
is
going to be a very
really
fluid situation and a catch-22, needless to say. Also with us on the broadcast is Imtiaz Gul, author and senior journalist, joining us live from Pakistan. Imtiaz ji, first and foremost, help the viewers here understand the intelligence and the security lapses can maybe come later, but Pakistan's response and the military strategy right now. If I could quickly read the latest press release that we're getting from the Baloch Liberation Army, they're saying Pakistani ground forces have been repelled. The aerial battle, it continues. Over to you, Mr. Imtiaz.
We are also here sitting in Islamabad as much informed of the situation as probably you are, but this is an extremely unusual situation and very calibrated action, apparently by the termination squads. They call themselves Fidaim. They're people who just go on death missions and they are ready to die. And if it's that termination mission or the death squad, then obviously the situation is going to be extremely bad. We don't know as to what could at best happen, but if they are equipped with weapons, incendiary weapons, and with hand grenades, so as I think your colleague was saying, that this is like a metal glass tube. So if you just try to burn something inside, explode that tube, then it can entail disastrous consequences for the hundreds of passengers that are trapped inside the train.
And, the first public reaction, the political reactions that are coming across in Pakistan, could you help the viewers here understand how the people on the ground are now reacting to this, news? Jaffar Express, a really popular train, now hijacked?
Well, I think the first reaction is not of any surprise, just because Balochistan is extremely sparsely populated with miles and miles with no habitation. So these things have been happening. There have been ambushes of military convoys, of paramilitary convoys. But obviously, this is the first incident of this scale involving 400 to 500 passengers. And this is one of a shock as well as of surprise to a certain extent, but it's nothing unexpected. The militants have been ramping up their campaign in the last few weeks, if not months, and this is what we've been seeing. It's a pattern that we thought that they have now shifted their guns towards the security forces, but now that the train has been taken hostage as of now, as the reports are trickling in. So this means this is meanwhile a combination of tactics. That is, they attack the security forces, their stations, their headquarters, now, as well as terrorize the common people, like the passengers of this train.
No, you're absolutely right. Before I go back to my colleagues, Mr. Gul, of course, this has exposed this entire incident, this fluid situation that we're calling it now, has exposed critical weakness of Pakistan's military operations and, of course, the transportation security. But let's talk a little bit about the role of the ISI and intelligence failures. I mean, take a look at the amount of operatives that we see in this one video that we've got. Of course, no other fresh video that has been picked up. Lots of them doing rounds on social media, but we need to be very careful when you're broadcasting any of those elements. Tell us a little bit about the role of the ISI and how this could very well be an intelligence failure. How did the Pakistan intelligence, slip up on this?
Well, I think I must correct you on this. The ISI is not responsible for the internal security. The ISI is responsible for counter-terrorism, counter-insurgency on the borders outside the country, not inside the country. Internally, this is the job of other intelligence agencies, including the Intelligence Bureau. And as I said, the Balochistan province is huge, it's half of Pakistan, and they cannot be operating everywhere. There are, of course, security lapses, there are intelligence failures, it seems, but to what extent did the intelligence fail here in this particular incident? it's very difficult to say at the moment. You still have to basically ascertain the facts behind this brazen act. I mean, there have been attacks on security forces themselves. I think in the last 3 months, we have seen very big attacks involving young cadets, recruits of the paramilitary forces. And this, however, is a huge incident, and this is going to probably entail consequences for all those people involved in the security of the region.
All right, Mr. Gul, do stay on with us. Aditya, any fresh information that we're picking up at this point in time? This does seem to be heading towards, a military standoff with the ground forces that have been repelled, the aerial forces, that particular fight that's going on. Any fresh information and update?
Well, a latest development that I have picked up is that a new train, a special train has left Quetta for Sibi with many Pakistan Army soldiers and doctors. These are replacements that are required on ground, because remember, it's a very cut-off area where this attack has taken place. The security forces and doctors need to be transported to that area to look into the injured, and also to the ongoing fluid situation right now, the contact that's been established between the security forces in Pakistan and, of course, the Baloch fighters. So we have this latest input that a train with Pakistani security forces and doctors has left the Quetta railway station for Sibi. In a few minutes from now, we'll be putting out those visuals also on the screen, but that's the latest we are picking up. There's no information on the casualties so far. We only know 6 Pakistani military soldiers have been killed, and we know that the operation is very much still underway with the hijacking of the train and the abduction of 100 plus people, mostly soldiers in BLA custody. What transpires now? Will the government issue a statement? Because the Pakistan Army, the ISPR, the ISI, and any civilian wing of the Pakistan government or the police are completely silent on this operation. No statement so far has really come out. We are waiting for an official word from the Pakistan government also to come in, even as that train reaches Sibi from Quetta with many of the Pakistani security forces and doctors.
Well, all right. That's the latest that we're tracking for you. We'll continue to track every development closely. Stay with us on News9 Live for all the live updates and expert analysis as this high-stakes hostage crisis unfolds.